Welcome, welcome, welcome. Got to get on our cool new sign. Welcome, everybody. Going to be ripping some playoff drafts, going to be talking some strategy. You're in the right place. Let's get it, gang. All right, guys, going to be talking about, first off, welcome. My name is Liam. If you are new to the channel, going to be talking Ffpc playoff strategy, going to be talking underdog strategy and ripping some gauntlet to teams. If you aren't already, make sure you join my Discord. The link to join is in the YouTube description below, as well as a link to follow me on Twitter if you are not. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, help me out, guys. We're only a couple of you away from 3,500 subscribers. We'll be at 10K before you know it. So, some news in the NFL. We're not going to harp on this too much, but there's been a lot of firings. You know, the Patriots finally moved on from Belichick. Probably should have done that a little bit ago. We're not going to touch on the college. Nick Saban out of there. Vrabel out of there. Some other coaches that are even not worth mentioning are out of there. We got some weather this weekend. I want to talk through that real quick before we get into this. But it, ties into strategy a little bit. So Cleveland, Houston, of course, indoors. Miami at Kansas City. Just very cold, which maybe impacts Miami. Maybe does not. Of course, some wind there too. Pitt, Buffalo is the bigger one. Buffalo Stadium is very unique in the sense that when that lake effect wind hits, it can just be brutal. Like only Josh and maybe Mahomes can even pass in that weather if it's blowing enough. And it's just gonna be cold, nasty wind there, maybe some snow. Dallas indoors, Detroit indoors, and then Tampa, some rain, maybe. I'm in the Tampa area. It's a little chilly some days, but nothing big there. On the news front, Gabe Davis is not going to play this weekend, is my guess. PCL sprain or something of that note. Stephon Diggs made comments today about him. Basically, Khalil Shakir should be going ahead of Gabe Davis in drafts. Now, I have no idea the extent of Gabe Davis's injury. Possibly he returns the next week. Maybe it takes 2 weeks. Maybe it takes 3 weeks. I don't know. Anyways, Gabe Davis is more of like a boom bust guy. Strong blocker, so he'll get out there. But Shakir, arguably a more complete receiving threat. So, A.J. Brown did not practice today. I don't know if he's going to play. My intuition is that he will play, but if he's not healthy, he won't. Sam Laporta didn't practice today. Dan Campbell said he has a shot, but I don't see him playing. Christian Watson limited, so I guess he might. A.J. Dillon doesn't practice. Noah Brown, questionable. I don't know if he got practice in. Swift practice, he's fine. And yeah, Jalen Hurts is, to my understanding, he sprained his middle finger, which, think through gripping a football and throwing it. Like your middle finger usually has a role in throwing the football. So I don't know what's going on there. Reportedly, he has not thrown a football since injuring his finger. This is a report from John Clark. I have not. Going back into the game probably wasn't the best idea physically. Time will tell with that. Like, why did he go back in this meaningless game? Uh, Devonta Smith will play. Mostert questionable. Waddle questionable. I think both of those guys play. I don't even know if there's anyone else even worth talking about. Tyler Higbee practiced, I guess. Anyways, first thing I want to talk about is the Ffpc contest. Now, the Ffpc and me had our spot here over the Taysom Hill thing, but I still really like this contest, so we're going to support this site. This contest has a $200 version and a $35 version. I typically only play the $200 version. Fun fact, in another universe, I'm back-to-back champion in this contest because 2 years ago, of course, we had the Bills-Chiefs game, and basically, if the Bills had either received the ball in overtime and won or just won the game, I'm pretty chalk to win because I had chosen some leverage spots. And last year, I had the thought, like moments before the day before the contest launched, I built all my lineups. I don't know, I had maybe like 20 lineups. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should run it again, but also just run Jalen Hurts instead of Josh Allen. Well, if I had done that and just put in any Bills player, I would have won last year. Now, if you don't know how this contest works, let's just join one here. The way it works is, if we can get in here. So the way it works is you can only pick a player from one team. And you're going to need to hard fade two teams. So, for example, if I take Josh Allen, I cannot put in Steph Diggs here. This is not a draft contest. This is a game theory. Put your lineup in. If I put in Josh, I can no longer choose any other Bills player. If I put in Lamar, that's the only Raven I can have. So you need to choose who you want to play from each team. And you have to play two running backs, you have to play two wideouts, you have to play a tight end. This website is tight end premium, meaning each reception is 1.5 points for the tight end. And you're going to need to choose two teams to hard fade. What I mean by hard fade is it means you do not play that player at all. You also need to choose two teams to soft fade. What is a soft fade? A soft fade is when you play their kicker or their defense. Now, in general, you want the teams that you're choosing the kicker and defense from to lose, right? So if you think the Packers are going to lose, playing their kicker in a dome, as long as they kick field goals, makes sense. And I mean, you want to read through the rules if you're new to this contest, but points in the Super Bowl are worth 2 times the amount. So usually what that means is you want your quarterback to be a Super Bowl represented team. As long as the delta, meaning the difference between a losing quarterback and a Super Bowl skill player is not more. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's assume you chose your quarterback as Josh instead of Lamar, instead of Brock Purdy, and the Super Bowl ends up beating Ravens 49ers. And Josh scores really well, and he loses to the Ravens, right? But he scores a lot of points. And then in the Super Bowl, either CMC scores the most for the 49ers or like Odell, Isaiah Likely, Gus Edwards, Ravens defense maybe. Like they score enough points where the combination of Josh and those players is more than the combination of Lamar and Diggs, Lamar and James Cook, Brock Purdy and James, you understand what I'm saying there. So, there are some players who are going to be mega chalk, and there will be some lineups which are way too duped, meaning duplicated. Your goal is to build a team not duped at all, right? You want to be the sole winner of the $500,000 if you're doing the 200 one. And the most duped team will be duped like hundreds of times. So that is just like anyone submitting that lineup is frankly donating. Now, could there be a 200-way split of 500K? Sure, there could be, right? Like we've all played Showdown. You don't want to be the person on Showdown who has a 2,000 train split of the money because you don't make anything then. Now, you can play some really good players that are just going to be low owned. For example, CMC and Lamb are, my guess is just like 80%, 90%. Lamb literally might be 90% or higher ownership. CMC a little bit less just because there's more appealing options. And he has a bye. But what I did last year, for example, is on a lot of my lineups, I simply didn't play Justin Jefferson. I played TJ Hawkinson. And that alone was enough to put that was enough right there to win the contest. Because Justin Jefferson, the Vikings lost to the Giants, and Jefferson got outscored significantly by Hawkinson. So thinking through who's going to be mega chalk, roughly going through the all chalk team, my guess is the chalk quarterback will be Josh. Every year people talk about, like last year, people thought Hurts was going to be chalk, but Josh gets an extra game, right? So Josh ended up being the chalkier quarterback last year. I don't know. It's a little bit different this year because most of the field is going to be choosing between Lamar and Josh as their quarterback. So, right there, if you play Mahomes, if you play Dak, if you play Purdy, if you play Jalen Hurts, if you play any of those quarterbacks, you can chalk out the rest of your lineup because those quarterbacks are literally going to come in at like 5% or less ownership, right? Like Purdy will be, I don't know, maybe 1% or less. Even Dak will be pretty low owned. I think people think Lamar is going to be chalk, but they also thought Jalen Hurts was going to be higher owned than Josh. And unlike last year where like people wanted to play AJ Brown, right? They wanted to play Devonta Smith. The Ravens don't really have that guy, right? Okay, yeah, you can play Zay Flowers. You can play Isaiah Likely. You can play Gus Edwards, but you're not fist pumping playing any of those players. And frankly, I don't know if you're fist pumping to play Lamar because we know Lamar has elite ceilings, right? Games of 35, games of 40 points, games of 38 points. But he also has very low floors, 17, 14, 13, 14, 10, right? Especially when the Ravens are just like cooking a team. So like when it's the Gus Edwards show, when it's the Ravens D show, or a Ravens losing effort. So finding a way to get different is a good way to do it. Like some of my favorite just leverage spots would be any Dolphin but Tyreek. Like Achane I like a lot. I think Achane can outscore Tyreek, and you're probably playing the Dolphins to lose in that case. Kelsey will probably be chalk. It's tight end premium. You have to play a tight end. And this tight end pool, it's like, who are people going to play? They can't even play Laporta anymore. I think David Njoku might actually be the highest tight end. I'll play a lot of Pacheco over Kelsey, personally. You know, arguably the top Chief. I just think it's how the Chiefs are going to play the game. They're going to try to run the rock. Any Lion that is not Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be mega chalk. Like, I would probably want to have a Lion and Ram. So I'm playing both sides of that game on most of my lineups just because this is a game with two bad defenses relative and in a dome. So you could see like Amon-Ra putting up 30 in a losing effort, or Puka or Kyron or whatever. Yeah. On the Bills side, if you're not playing Josh, which I'll play Josh on most of my lineups, I like James Cook, I like Kincaid, and I like Diggs. And like, if you're feeling real crazy and you want that 1% play, you can play Shakir. I don't think you can play Gabe Davis with him missing a game. Playing the Ravens to lose and or soft fading the Ravens, I think is okay. Meaning you either play Ravens D, you play Ravens kicker, and your hope is they either lose next round or, like, say they play the Browns, which if the Browns win, they would play the Browns. You hope that game is like 10-0, right? Or whatever, 12-6 or whatever the score is. Either the Ravens D or the kicker scores close enough to their top skill player, and then you want them to lose the next round to whoever. If you're gonna fade Lamb, it's tough. Like, that's the spot where you could play a little Jake Ferguson. You could play a little bit of Tony Pollard, Brandon Cooks, these guys, but it's a tough fade. If you're doing a ton of lineups, you have to fade him on some of them because what dude could tear an ACL and now simply playing any other Cowboy but CeeDee Lamb, and literally 90% or more of the contest or of the field could be dead to you if you played like, CeeDee Lamb goes out there, gets a high ankle sprain in the first quarter, and the Cowboys win or lose, doesn't really matter. And you have Jake Ferguson who gets 15 points in a winning or losing effort. You've profited a lot there. So I definitely would fade these guys a little bit for the sense of just like an injury benefit. Like, do I see the Cowboys losing to the Packers? Not really. The Browns seem like a good team to fade to me. People are just like so gung-ho on this Browns team. But the problem is that like Njoku, Amari Cooper, and Browns D, I think are all going to be close enough in ownership. And I personally would want to fade Amari Cooper the most out of that list. Like, it's just my belief that when you get toasted by an effort like this, 15, 11, 265, and 2, usually what we see defenses do is they say, all right, we are going to make sure that does not happen again, period, right? Even if it comes at the expense of winning the game, right? It's very embarrassing if you allow this to happen and then you play them 2 weeks later and you just let that happen again. Not to mention Amari Cooper's injured, so I'll probably full fade Cooper. I like Njoku. I like Browns D. I like full fading the Browns. Nico, of course, is the chalk Texan, but I think a 1 to 3% owned or less Devin Singletary is feasible. If the Texans win, they play the Browns, who give up explosive runs just because no one tries their secondary. And then also they would play the Ravens, which would they pass all over the Ravens? Maybe not. So Mike Evans seems like a great piece to play both sides. A, because we know Philly could lose the game. B, even in a losing effort, you could see Mike Evans getting there against Philly's Singletary. Yeah, Singletary legitimately will be around 1% owned, and I quite like him at that. So I'll definitely have some Singletary. The 49ers are hard, man. Like, fading CMC does not feel good when he gets to the Super Bowl, but we know it could be any of the other 49ers, and all of their ownership will be insanely low. I don't have a lean there, though, of who I'd want to play. I could see, and this year's a little bit different where we got a lot of news that we don't know right now. We don't know the status of Jalen Hurts. We don't know the status of A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was probably going to be the chalk eagle, and he could come in at lower ownership than expected. And Jalen Hurts, by the way, Jalen Hurts' ownership in this contest, I would guess 1 to 3%. Just the recency bias against him, the middle finger problem, the team hasn't looked good. Mahomes will probably be around 5% or whatever, but no one's playing Jalen Hurts. So I'll have a Jalen Hurts team for sure, just in the case that they get to the Super Bowl. I personally do not believe I don't believe this shit that Mark Andrews can return. To my understanding, he has the same injury that Tony Pollard had. And hello, did we just see Tony Pollard's season? He could maybe return to the Super Bowl. So if people are going to fade Isaiah Likely because Mark Andrews might return, who, by the way, I think is undraftable in underdog contests. I quite like Likely as the Raven. I'll play tight end premium, of course. You're gonna think that the Steelers are gonna be hard faded 80% or so, and it's hard to argue against that. Could you play the Steelers D and hope something happens? Yeah, I guess. But there's a big misnomer about Josh Allen's turnovers, where turnovers are not one and the same, right? If you try to throw an interception, or if you try to throw a ball and it gets intercepted on your 20, you're really hurting your team because the other team is 20 yards out from scoring. If you're throwing a ball 45 yards down the field on third down or even fourth down, and it gets intercepted or whatever, it's essentially an arm punt, right? Or when we saw, if you watch that Bills game versus Miami, Josh missed Diggs. How did he miss him, though? He missed him long for a reason. Why? Well, because Diggs cooked Ramsey off the line, and if you miss him short, you get risk of an interception. So, yeah, you don't love to miss a guy 5 yards open for a 90-yard touchdown, but you cannot afford that ball to be short, where the guy who stumbled can then get back and get the ball, right? Like we saw Tua have some turnovers like that. I don't see myself playing any Steelers. If you want to play some Steelers D without TJ Watt, I mean, it's a crazy weather game you can go for, but I don't know if the weather helps you as much for the defense as you might think, because if all they're doing is pounding the rock, well, then they're not even putting the ball in harm's way unless fumbles happen, you know? I think most people will play both sides of Miami and Kansas City. So if you want to play that game as a blowout and or hard fade one of those teams or soft fade one of those teams, you're getting unique. Jahmyr Gibbs will be pretty low owned for what he should be. So would David Montgomery. I think the majority of folks will choose Kyron. Um, then I think Puka should be the second highest owned Ram, but maybe it's Cup, right? Like this website in general, the vibe of it is that it has a more quote unquote boomer crowd, aka older folk who don't consume content or whatever, right? Like this is typically a site that really likes running backs in the draft pool, etc. So I don't know. Let's just throw one in here. I'm obviously going to change this because I don't want a dupe team by whoever watches this video in case someone's like, "Oh, I like that one." I'll just throw it in there. And let's try to get unique here on one or two spots. So like Achan, a spot I can see myself getting unique, and let's get Singletary in there. And now I am already incredibly unique. One, maybe Lamar does come in super high owned, in which case I love that, right? Because Josh can be the optimal quarterback, obviously, if he makes the Super Bowl, but also if he doesn't, and just the Ravens have some weird scoring. We're going to throw in likely on the Ravens side. And with all this uniqueness, we're going to try to chalk out here as much as we can, right? Like when you get when you get mega unique at some spots, which the Singletary again around 1%, maybe 2%, and Achan, I don't know, 7 to 10%. Already, I'm very unique. And likely, I assume I'll be unique. Some will be scared off by the potential, or many will be scared off by the potential Mark Andrews returns. So trying to chalk out, you take Lamb, you take CMC, you take Kyron. You take Amon-Ra. These are all chalk. We'll throw AJ Brown in there, but keep in mind this locks once the playoffs start. So if we don't have a report that AJ Brown is playing for sure on Monday, AJ Brown's ownership could come in real low owned. And my guess is that Goddard will take the ownership. I'm going to play Pacheco over Kelsey, even though we're trying to chalk out here. And that leaves us with us needing to hard fade and soft fade two of Browns, Tampa, Green Bay, Pitt. So I'm going to take Green Bay's kicker in the dome. And look, if Green Bay wins off the back of 5 field goals, it's not a death sentence, right? And then defense, whatever. I guess I'll take Cleveland. I also think Tampa's attempting defense. And again, Cleveland in a winning effort, if their defense scores a touchdown and then they score well against the Ravens in a loss, they could still be in there. So what chalk do I not have on this team? I don't have a chalky Brown player, mainly Njoku or Mari Cooper. I don't have Kelsey. I don't have Tyreek Hill, who will be very chalky. I don't have Nico Collins, who is the higher owned Texan. I don't have Kelsey, who is the higher owned there. And then I have the highest owned Bill, Dallas, Detroit, Ram. And I really don't know what's going to happen with the Ravens, but likely will be lower owned than he should be. So yeah, I think this is a good example where you don't need people overestimate how unique you need to get to win a contest like this, right? Could I build a team with, I don't know, Singletary and then Amari Cooper or Elijah Moore and then Khalil Shakir and then Baker Mayfield at quarterback? It's yeah, you can do these things, but just like in best ball, regular best ball, where you don't want to be getting insane, Like you don't need to be taking, I don't know, the third string quarterback in hopes that he's really low owned if all the other guys get hurt. It's like, okay, but like you're being too gal brain. So I think this is a good example of not too gal brain, one or two spots. And yeah, so hope you guys found this helpful if you are playing this contest. I'm going to refill my water and then we're going to get into some gauntlet drafts. Hey, congrats, Jack. Yeah, Ron. I mean, I think the weather helps you a little bit potentially, but no, I don't see this. The Steelers are one of the worst playoff teams to make the playoffs in a while. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Andy fading Miami. Yeah, I think that's fine. In DraftKings with the tight end position, is bully tight end with Kelsey Kincaid viable? Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to play Bills Chiefs and like you stack a NFC team, that seems fine. It's also possible you don't need tight end points in the Super Bowl. Seeing how those contests work. What's up, Nick? Let's draft it. Let's go. I don't see it, Adam. Put your money where your mouth is, though. Go ahead. You're welcome, Jack. All right, let's get to some gauntlet twos here. So if you're someone who, like a lot of people, I showed that Bills 49er stack I had in the gauntlet one, and they're like, I'm done. I can't believe teams like that exist. This is a great one. God damn, this goddamn location stuff, man. Let's get in here. This is a 50K to first. I wish Underdog didn't do as many of the lower buy-ins this year. Like last year, we had several gauntlets with six-figure prizes. And I don't know if the gauntlet one just filled slower. I think it was, you know what it was? Is this year, because of Buffalo going from undrafted essentially to the first round, that alone just like slowed the fill rate on the gauntlet, in my opinion. And also, like, I hope this goes to show you that it is a bad strategy in a long-term contest like the gauntlet to wait until the playoffs are set to draft your teams. A lot of the skill is thinking through the teams that can rise in ADP, right? Taking on the risk that other people won't. It was risky to draft Buffalo instead of Jacksonville. Who I said that the Jags could miss the playoffs. I didn't see it going quite like in this order, but I remember looking back when Buffalo. Uh-oh, guys. I think we got Steelers fan triggered. Woo, 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 woo. Trigger warning. Look, I think the weather helps the Steelers a little bit. I understand you're a fan of the Steelers. I don't think they're a good team. I've been liking this start for uniqueness sake. I did this in the OG Gauntlet too. Not many are doing this. It's a good way to get unique. and throws a lot of chaos in the draft. This guy is now on life tilt. I welcome your opinion, Ron. The Bills are the 2 seed, though. So we'll draft a couple of these. It's hard getting a CMC stack that you like, in my opinion. Yeah, I really quite like this strategy, just playing Bills without Josh and seeing what happens, and it generally screws 1 to 2 drafters. Right? Because, like, what is this guy playing for right now? Basically a quarterback less 49ers Ravens stack. I don't know why this guy took Mahomes. He's not doing anything logical. Yeah, let's go double Rams here. We're not going to get Kyron this time, but that's okay. Yeah, so okay, this guy's playing Ravens. Like, this guy is not, no offense if anyone's watching this, but this is not a great built team, in my opinion. He's playing Ravens versus Detroit or Philly or San Fran. A little too thin there. This guy's playing Philly versus, your guess is as good as mine, Kansas City or Miami, I guess. This guy's playing Dallas Chiefs, which is okay, but I don't really love the double quarterback. Don't know what our friend with Josh is playing for. And this guy is playing this guy's playing the chalk Super Bowl, 49ers, Ravens. So he's doing something logical. He just needs advanced rate pieces. Okay, we're gonna go Chana Waddle here. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get on like life tilt in these and just adapt to like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you can get in, I've gone in rooms where it seems like I'm the only one who knows what I'm doing. Yeah, so the only issue for our friend Krebby here is he's not going to have a viable running back. Like, he's playing the Rico Dowdles, the CEHs. Yeah, I don't think this guy knows what's going on. Uh, yeah, I don't think this guy really knows what's going on either. He's playing Buffalo, Dallas, Buffalo, San Fran. So like he adapted fine. And I don't need to take Stafford here, but I may have tilted one or two players, so I'm going to take him to play, to make sure I'm playing a Super Bowl team here. And I guess we might as well take Mostert. So I'm playing Rams Miami, Rams Buffalo. Not the, is Stafford my preferred quarterback? No. Yeah, so he's playing Buffalo 49ers, Buffalo Dallas. I think Zay Flowers is an awful one-off piece. He's not playing the first round, but I see a lot of people do that. This guy is playing Detroit. This this dude's just vibing. I think he was worried that I was going to take Tua with this stack, which I guess I could have taken Tua. Um, Obviously, I prefer Stafford because I got double AFC. Yeah, I don't think our friend in the one hole knows what's going on either. Gabe Davis not supposed to play this round. Um, Najee Harris not a great one-off. Yeah, I don't mind McNasty's team. Woo! He needs another Raven though, and I don't know if he's gonna get it. He he maybe started prioritizing advancing too early. I talked about this a little bit, David, but I like him quite a bit. Um, we're gonna take Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Higbee. So I got the Rams alpha except Kyron versus Buffalo versus Miami. Not my favorite, but viable. Yeah, I could have gotten Sherfield or someone like that too. Could have gotten another Buffalo player. No one's drafting Higbee though. You know. Let's do another. Yeah, so I mean this has been talked about a lot, but you generally don't want to be in rooms with several people who have no effing clue what's going on. I don't know why this always happens on my desktop. I don't know how many Gauntlet 2 teams I'm going to do. I just quite like my Gauntlet 1 portfolio. Gus Bus versus Justice Hill, Jack, randomized there. I think Gus has got more touchdown equity. Justice Hill's probably a better stacking partner with Lamar, more synergy, could catch passes. Probably make this my last one. Hopefully we get Josh here. Pretty sure McNasty was just in our room. I think he was drafting next to me though, so I think he's someone who like did understand what's happening. Yeah. Yeah, it's good to take note of the usernames that have no effing clue what's going on. And there are some Reg Badge. Like I remember some Reg Badge guy last year who was just like drafting heavy volume of awful teams, and I didn't understand it. Getting back into my fitness, as you should too if you're not. I'm out of shape, so I need it. Trying to level up my VO2 max. All right. This is a great way to end. We end with a Josh here. Rich Money Man. It's like a rap lyric. I've been playing a lot of chess, trying to level up my chess too, and fitness, and it's like very correlated. I played pretty bad, but I'm very happy I got through it, shook some rust off. Playing again this Saturday, so very happy I played that tournament. The tournament I really care about coming up is next month. It's a team tournament I played every year. So, yeah, don't like what that guy did. So we could go Ayuk here, but we're just never getting Kittle past this dude or this dude. So let's just go Diggs. Yes, Daniel. I mean, there are many different iterations of what can happen, right? There are some iterations where you can just house it in on two teams and you don't need a couple one offs. There are times where you really do need one offs, and if housing it on two teams will never work. So I'd recommend you doing a mix. But in general, I would aim to do at least 6 players from the Super Bowl. You need 5 minimum to field a roster. Try to aim for at least 6 because all the money is in the finals. So if you get to the finals and you have a path to actually win versus chop it up with like 500 of your closest friends, you'll be very happy you added on an extra piece. And frankly, you'd rather just get lucky with pod luck if it's difficult to get 6 players in versus 5, whatever. No, Chris, you want the people that are drafting suboptimally to do that. It is very mathematically like you have a very poor understanding of just math if your aim is to min cash these tournaments, right? Advance rate is 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 3. Ooh. Yeah, we'll take Kittle here. If James Cook makes it back, awesome. If not, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, he's taking Cook as an advance rate piece, but obviously I'm not going to let him get any other Buffalo players that he wants. So, yeah, I'm not saying that's your goal, Chris, but I'm just saying that people that pivot drafts to min cash or come in with that strategy is like just flat out a poor understanding of math there. Yeah, so I mean, like, would I rather have Cook here? Yes, I would, but that's okay. You gotta take the risk when you get a falling player in hopes that this guy just does something like, I don't know, Kyron Cup or something. I definitely build some teams with 10 players from 2 teams. So no, I don't think it is too many. And in the event that you can get a 10-team stack to the Super Bowl, anything but that is suboptimal as far as solo shipping the contest is concerned. I don't know what a grail hit is, Duke, but no, I don't really agree with you. Taking players that are very likely to lose in round 1 is not my strategy. And I mean, like in George Pickens' case, his total is not good. Um, let's take Kincaid. Duke, going for profit is going for first. If you're playing this tournament to try to just advance, you should not play the tournament. You should go play a cash game, right? If you want to just min cash, I mean, a min cash is literally less than your entry. So going for profit is going for first. And in the event that like the Super Bowl is, you know, Green Bay versus Texans, if you build some teams like that, obviously they're not likely to be good, but you're going to be the only one with those. So we got Buffalo, Detroit, Buffalo 49ers. This guy, um, I'm no longer confident knows what's going on. What is he playing for? I I guess he's playing for Rams, Ravens with no Puka and no Cup potentially. I mean, Cup's not been taken yet, but David, you talking FFPC or Underdog? FFPC, I think you can for sure soft fade and or hard fade them. How many picks do I have left? 4 more picks. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Laporta. Nor does anyone else, but like, I don't know. If people are just going to give me AJ Brown here, sure. Seth brings up a great point. Drop that like. Come on now. Yeah, no, David, I like it, man. I definitely like. I don't think the Ravens are unbeatable. I don't think the 49ers are unbeatable too. Yeah. Khalil Shakir should have a higher ADP than Gabe Davis. I don't generally love to play 3 NFC teams with an AFC team, which I'm doing right now, but you know, when you get a falling ADP, and in some cases you're going to need the one-off of AJ Brown. Like Philly advances, AJ Brown scores 30 points in a loss. Yeah, I definitely like the Rams' chances of getting the upset. I don't like Detroit's chances as much of upsetting the Niners, even though they have like an elite O-line. Their defense is just struggling. So, all right, so let's see how many people actually know what's going on here. McNasty building a perfectly fine team. Kansas City versus Dallas. Big Rem is got no idea what is going on. Yeah, and we're going to take Goddard here as well. And let's see. Rich Money Man has got... Okay, so he's adding Ravens. So he's playing Ravens, Philly, Ravens. Yeah, okay. So I mean, he tacks on another Raven. He's fine. Let's see if this dude knows what's going on. He's got Brock Purdy for no reason. And then yeah, no. This dude has no idea what's going on. And this guy has no clue where he is. Yeah, so we're within it's a Wild West here. And now obviously I need a Bills running back. This is a true roll the dice. I think Fournette's draftable. I think Ty Johnson's draftable. Ty's concussed, but he almost caught that touchdown. I just like that he stacks a little bit better with Josh versus Fournette, who leverages off of him a little bit in theory. So we'll take Ty this time. So I'm live for Buffalo versus the Niners. I'm live for Buffalo, Detroit. I'm live for Buffalo, Philly. I don't generally love to build it this thin, but Yeah, and Ken, that's your thought. Ken says, if we're being realistic, there are only 5 teams that can win it all. So personally, I would rather just try to min cash if I can't get any of those team stacks. But that's rare you can't get a stack. And I understand what you're saying, Ken, and I understand that point of view, but you're just flat out wrong. And a great example is 2 years ago, whatever year the Rams made the Super Bowl versus the Bengals, people did not think the Rams could make the Super Bowl that year. They did not think that was happening, and they were not being drafted often, right? So you're just wrong if you don't think the Texans can go on a run, or the Browns can go on a run, or the Packers can go on a run, or Tampa can go on a run, right? Like crazy things can happen in football. It's in a game of essentially like advanced rock, paper, scissors, shoot, where even what's the biggest spread? Even the Bills versus the Steelers, which is the biggest spread week 1, is the Bills could lose. Even if the Ravens play or if the 49ers play the Packers, the 49ers could lose. And so if you have honestly, I think you're if you're so bankroll concerned that you're trying to min cash, you should frankly be playing either lower buy-ins so that you can play optimally and to me, or yeah, just do less teams or whatever. Because is it likely that the Packers are going to make the Super Bowl? Is it likely that Tampa? Is it likely that the Texans? No, of course not. But even if it's 1 in 100 years, whatever, the year that you draft a lot of those teams and they make the Super Bowl run and they're literally being like undrafted, well, you've profited for a lifetime versus um, shooting for a min cash, which is again just a losing strategy. So I don't think it's an optimal way to approach it. I understand it, but is what it is. Yeah, I mean you're losing. You'll just lose the year that you don't have the Packers or Texans. I understand that, but I don't think that's the right. I don't think that's the right point of view for profit, right? You're just saying you're losing. Literally, a min cash is less than an entry. $20, $25. So I don't know, man. I understand what you're saying, where things can get blown up and it's all awry, but can you see my big mitten team? Yeah, man. I did this on stream against the Ship Chasers. It got a little funky. I didn't get AJ Brown, and I'm not going to do a lot of big mittens. I just like they feel too slow, and I like these bigger contests personally. Um, but I'm playing Philly versus Bills, Philly versus Dolphins. I will always stack there's not been a single draft I've done off of. I got 57 of the gauntlets in, and there's not a single time where I knowingly went in without a 5-person Super Bowl potential. Now, some of them are Jag stacks, which are dead, obviously, right? But at the time, I did not know that was dead, right? So, like, uh, let's try to find a dead one. I really like this one. Let's see how the room is. How many other dead teams are there? Alive, alive, alive. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I might be the only one with dead spots. But if somehow Josh can score enough to cover the fact that my only other players play, well, literally my only other player playing is Kincaid, unfortunately. Because we did not know Ravens 49ers were going to both have the bye at this time. So that one's likely dead. Nearly the full Bills Dallas stack. You also got an out for Raven if they're hard to get there. I don't really like that one. Philly, Chiefs, Philly, Ravens seems fine. Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs are just a rough team to stack. Bills, Rams, Bills, Eagles, Bills, Dallas. Too thin for my taste. Bills, 49ers, Bills, Bucks, Bills, Rams. I like this one because we're really playing Bills, 49ers with advance rate pieces. Eagles, Bills, Eagles, Ravens. Yeah, my late team I pivoted to was, yikes, this is gross. Yeah, so my first team I did, probably not that great. Bills, Dallas, Bills, 49ers. It's just too many quarterbacks. But hey, there are cases where you need it. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this stream. Please hit the like. Make sure to join my Discord and follow me on Twitter if you don't. Links to do that are in the YouTube description below. I'll definitely be back on Friday, tomorrow, to do another stream and make a pick'em slip for the weekend. And then I'll see you guys after the first round of the playoffs, where hopefully things break right. Enjoy your nights. Peace out.